Hey everybody, JC here. And today I want to dive deeper into uncertainty and the great unknown because so many of the folks that I've been speaking with are struggling with feeling worried and stressed about the future. And I want to be a voice to affirm that there is space for choice and power here. Really, there is. So, if you've been feeling worried about the future or overwhelmed, or like you're trying to be on top of a constantly changing landscape, I made this video for you. I'm going to share my perspective on why learning to befriend the unknown is a key ingredient that we need to unlearn oppressive dynamics on all scales. And then I'm going to guide us through an awareness tool so that you can find more choice and actually feel in your power as you move forward and encounter the unknown. Okay, so you might be thinking, empowerment, power, how could I feel empowered given uncertainty and constantly changing plans? And to that, I say, I hear you. And I want us to take a step back and look at it from a cultural lens for a moment so you may see it differently. And then we'll come back to what that means for you. So think about the cultural messaging that you received about power and known or unknown. Was power always associated with what's known? Was it ever associated with what's unknown? Depends on your cultural context or contexts, right? Did you grow up hearing things like knowledge is power? Do the cultures that you're connected to and affected by have a fearful relationship with the unknown, a generative relationship, or maybe something else? So I'm going to take you through an exercise so you can identify what your relationship to the unknown is like so you can have more awareness and more choice. And before we go into it, just going to note two things. One, we're going to go through it on a very subtle level. So you'll be just a little bit in the experiencer role inside the experience, and mostly you'll be in the witness role, noticing your experience of it. And two, you have a volume dial, and I have a volume dial, and we can turn it up on our experience, making it more intense, and we can turn it down, making it more and more subtle. And you can go at a different pace, at a different intensity than me. Okay, so let's start with a piece of the future that you have some joyful feelings around. And it's ideal if it's something quite small. So an example would be like, I'm a little bit excited to eat this piece of dried mango later, or I'm looking forward to Saturday cartoons or an upcoming chat with a friend. So think about something in this moment. Think about it. Something small. You got it? You got it? Okay, got it. So hold that in your hand in front of you. And just notice, so that's, for me, that's like, okay, dried mango later. So whatever that is for you, hold that in your hand. And just notice your relationship to it. And notice how you inhabit yourself here. Notice what you feel connected to about yourself in your relationship to this little piece of the imagined future. Okay, so now put that down. So we're going to put that down. So we have this future, right? The great unknown right here. And we're looking at what's our relationship to it. And it depends how we orient. So now we're going to orient differently. So take this on with me for a minute and see how it feels for you. So we're going to take up a new future. And that's going to be the great unknown. The great unknown. So take that up in your hand again. And we're going to orient this time where I'm afraid of this future. So feeling yourself afraid of this future that you're holding in your hand. Just notice again what comes up for you, right? When you feel scared of it, daunted by it. Okay, we'll just put that down for a moment. So for me, what was happening was I had a little bit of a contraction in my chest. I had a sense of wanting to back up from what I was holding. And what I really want to highlight the most is that I felt small. And this thing I was holding that I was afraid of felt big, like physically big. So I was finding myself in a one-down relationship with it. This felt like it had the power, and I felt like I didn't. So notice if that feels familiar, and just shake that out. It's just like, all right, you're going to shake that out. All right, beautiful. So notice how both that small thing that you're looking forward to and this big idea of the big, scary unknown, they're both truly unknown futures, right? They're both unknown. So we're going to reverse it completely now. And we're going to take up that future again. So take it up again in your hand. And this is this future that feels kind of scary. And let's say, right, I'm afraid of it, but I'm also afraid of sinking into that fear. So imagine yourself trying to conquer the fear. And you hear that term, right? There's a reason that I don't advocate for this, and you'll see in a moment. It's very revealing to see this. So I'm trying to conquer the fear of the future. I'm trying to be on top of it. So try that with me now. Try to feel like you're conquering this fear of the future and you're on top of it. Yeah, so you can put that down now. So it doesn't take very long a lot of the time. So notice what was happening in your body. For me, what was happening is that I got really tense, especially in my arms, especially in that arm. And my breath, my life force contracted. My heart rate started to increase. And my heart just felt more tense or like hardened. And what I want to highlight here in this relationship is that I felt big in comparison to this, and I felt tense, and I felt like I was in a one-up relationship to it, and I didn't feel true power here. I didn't feel connected to myself. I didn't feel connected to this future, to the earth. Like I totally lost the earth doing that. The bigger space, to what I care about. I lost all of those things. Inhabiting myself in that way. So notice what's true for you. Okay, so again, shaking that out. So when we take a macro view on this phenomenon, we see the dangers of what plays out in these one-up, one-down relationships with the unknown. Human history / present shows us that what happens when collective nervous systems are trying to gain control and conquer their experience of something that they're relating to and projecting fear onto, and then inhabiting this one-ups space. So what can we do instead? How can we do this differently? How can we change the course, starting with ourselves and radiating out? Well, we saw that believing the fearful thoughts and identifying with it brought us into that one-down relationship where we felt disempowered. And we saw that attempting to push away the fear by trying to control brought us into tension and a one-ups relationship where we were also disconnected from our power and from what we care about. So there's another option besides being inside the fear or polarizing against it and pushing it away. And I want to paint a picture of this option of being in your true power with a road trip analogy. So let's say that you're going to go on a road trip to a camping spot that is beautiful and nourishing. And let's say the one who thought of this and organized the trip is your most resourced self. Some might call it higher self, best self. I say most resourced self. So that is who gets in the driver's seat of the car to drive down there. Now, you're not really alone in the car. As you start heading there, someone in the back seat, a part of you, starts telling you to turn around. They say, I feel like it's not going to be good there. Maybe there will be a bear. Maybe our food will get stolen. Maybe we're going to get rained out. Like, it's not going to go well. We should turn around. Let's turn around and go back. So, let's break that down into emotion and thought. So this part in the back seems to be afraid, right? So we have the emotion of fear. That fear energy is real, and it's there in that moment. It's present as it's being expressed. How about the thoughts? When the fear speaks, it's coming up with content that is not true to the present moment, right? The truth is that they're in the car. They're not even at the campsite. So none of those ideas are accurate to the present moment. So just think about for a moment, what would your response be to someone in the back seat who said that? So the equivalent of the one down is basically to take the content of what they're saying as truth, to believe that story, even though it isn't a reflection of the present, and essentially to automatically put them in the driver's seat. Now, how old is that part that's afraid? Imagine if it's 5 years old. It's pretty dangerous if they drive, right? They're not going to be able to see over the dashboard. How safe is it to drive away from something out of fear, like with all that fear energy? So that's what the one down and collapsing into the fear part might look like. The one up's response might look like arguing with the part in the backseat, telling them that they're wrong, telling them that you don't want to hear what they're saying. And imagine how safe is it to drive like that, let alone how harmonious is it? It might even go as far as kicking that part out of the car. And remember, that part is a part of you. How whole and connected to yourself and to your values might you feel in doing that? And just to clarify, no judgment on the part who kicks that other part out of the car. They also believe that they're helping too. So, what is another option here? What is an empowering relationship with the unknown, given that fear may and is likely to arise? So let's return to the car. Your most resource self is driving forward into the unknown. From the resource lens, the unknown looks nourishing, exciting, friendly. And now we hear that part in the back seat. Maybe we should turn back. There might be something scary or something we don't like there. How would you respond compassionately to someone who said this? So I'll share how I respond. The way I respond is I pull over and I look at them and I really look at them and I say, hey, it sounds like you're feeling scared, right? And I don't become the child. I don't believe their thoughts are an accurate reflection of the present, I don't let them drive, but I do pull over. I do acknowledge that the fear itself is true and is here now. So that is what I respond to. And I see them for my resourced self, knowing it's all okay. And it's okay that they're scared. They don't have to be any different. I don't need to convince them that they're wrong. And also, I recognize when I see them that that's not all of who they are, right? That's just one aspect of them that's here at the forefront in this moment. And I just say, I see you, I hear you, I want to listen to your concerns, and I want to hear them out, and I'm here to support you. And from that place, that back and forth, we can move forward together from a place of understanding each other better. So this is an example of moving from a dominance-based, one up, one down dynamic into a supportive, relational dynamic that's grounded and held in the bigger context of resource. And the answer to how we create this in the world, how we transform oppressive dynamics, I just said the answer. I'm going to tell you my answer that I believe in wholeheartedly. Like, really, how do we do this? Practice. That's my answer. That's what I believe. And when we can intervene and shift the dynamic in our own system, we have the blueprints and we have the skills for doing the same on bigger and bigger and bigger scales. So, in service to transforming oppressive dynamics and creating supportive, companionable relationships, networks, systems, in service to that, my challenge to you in the next 24 hours, that's one day, 24 hours, is to create those blueprints. Once you have the blueprints, you can practice the skills. And you're thinking, blueprints, what is that? How do I create the blueprints? Okay, think of what a blueprint is. It's a map of the territory. So to create your map, pay attention and notice when you find yourself pulled to go into a one down position or a one up position. And let me give you some examples of what it might sound like. The one down position, it might sound like projecting fear, discouragement, giving up, collapsing, hiding, disappearing. And I really just want to be sure that I affirm that these parts aren't bad. They're actually, they're really smart, and they're habitual solutions. There's nothing wrong with them. They helped us survive in a way. We just want to notice so that we have more options. It's not the only option on the table. The one-ups position, it might sound like hold it together, push through, perform, gotta get on top of this. And it could feel like going into tension and trying to control. And again, not bad, just habitual solutions that may not match the present moment or our values. So let's look at them so we can make space for creative options that we would want to choose. So you can notice what seems to invite you there. And you might also start noticing this as you witness others. But start with yourself and write down what emotions, sensations, and thoughts come up for you when you start to feel yourself inhabiting either of these positions, as well as like what's your orientation to whatever you're relating to, like the bigness, the smallness, and how does that contrast with how you inhabit yourself when you're feeling resourced and empowered? What are those thoughts, emotions, and sensations like? How does the resource position orient in relationship? What does that feel like? What does it sound like? Capture that in writing. Build your blueprint. Build it. And if you feel so inclined to share it, I'm so here for that. I would love to know how this goes for you, and I'm excited for the connections that you're going to make with this one.